What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hollywood Tales. I am your host, Ahmed Ahmed, and my co-host.
Blake Barty, how's it going?
And over here, working all our magic, puppet master, engineer, producer, videographer, editor, jack of all trades, master of all, Wolf Ramirez. Thanks, man. And then our special guest today is the one and only Dwayne Perkins. Give it up for Dwayne Perkins.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I love that you said one and only. Only because there's another comic now named Dwayne Perkins.
Is there really?
I saw that.
I saw like,
D-E-W,
yeah.
Oh,
But
I
he
think you
pronounces
told me
it
about
the same.
that.
Yeah, I like to think of myself as the one and
Didn't
only.
you call him out?
No,
Or
you know, I never.
like sent him a thing. You were like,
No, I never
I'm
re-
the one and only.
I've never reached out to him.
Change your
No,
name,
no.
man.
I thought he should have reached out to me. But he's doing well for himself. So
His
yeah.
mom should have reached out. And been
Yeah,
like, hey,
exactly.
Can I name my child?
Well, better yet, his manager should have reached out, or his agent. They should have been like, "There's a guy." Anyway,
SAG should have reached out.
right? But
Screen Actors Guild.
he spells it differently, so that's how.
How's it spelled?
Dewayne. But he's not Dwayne. He's Dwayne, just like I'm
Is he,
Dwayne.
do you guys look alike?
No. We don't. We're both black, but we don't favor. We have completely different lanes, so that kind of helps.
That's cool.
He's a comic for sure. I'm not familiar with his comedy, but I think he's more of a writer. He's written on a bunch of shows and stuff.
There's a comic out there right now. I think I showed it to you.
Oh, yeah.
He goes by Ahmed Ahmed the comic.
Are you serious?
Oh my God.
Jesus!
Well,
so what are you? Chop liver, right?
I'll find it. We'll pull it up. I have a picture of it.
Yeah, but one and only is we're roll with that. I'm the one and only Dwayne Perkins. You're the one and only Ahmed Ahmed.
That's right. And the one and only Blake Barty.
Yes.
No, I'm just.
All right, this is going to be a fun episode. Just a little disclaimer. We are here at Jam in the Van Studios in West LA. It's on Motor Avenue between Pico and Venice. It's a cool spot. It's an ex-rehab center. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, I did not know that.
So they used to, rehabilitate drug addicts and alcoholics. And then this place became Jam in the Van. And then all the alcoholics and drug addicts came back.
Oh, that's yeah.
I mean, this place is a very, let's just say it's friendly.
Right.
420 friendly.
Right.
It's also located coincidentally next to an Islamic mosque. I don't know if you
Is that
saw
right?
that walking in. Yeah,
I didn't see that. That's pretty interesting.
like a
That's kinda
big
cool.
mosque.
Wow.
That's how you found the place.
That's why I found the place.
Oh, is that right? Oh, it's all coming together. Oh, I believe it.
I was telling the guys they should just bust open a door between, like just break the wall down, right? Just create a little
Right.
hallway.
Right.
If you want to go submit and convert, there you go.
Yeah, I've never been to a mosque. Anyone can just roll in, right?
Yeah, didn't you go to one in Dubai when we were there? Or?
Maybe, but I mean, like, I've never been to like sit in on a service.
Ah,
Yeah.
I've sat in on thousands.
Right.
Anyway, Jam in the Van Studios. This is our podcast studio. They have a cool outdoor complex that seats 300 people, indoor complex that seats about 150. There's a cool green room. It's just one-stop shop for everything. So jaminthevan.com. Come check it out. Let's talk about how we met.
Yes.
We met in the comedy scene. I mean, it was somewhere in LA. I can't remember where exactly.
Yeah, it was. I would say it's tough. Either the Laugh Factory, or maybe at Dublin's. But I feel like I must
Did you
have met
perform at Dublin's?
Oh yeah,
Then
a
it was
bunch.
at Dublin's.
A bunch.
Then I met you at Dublin's.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
because that's where I met you, and then we just kind of stayed friends and stuff. But we've both been to like the Middle East and Asia and that
Yeah,
kind of
Middle East,
thing.
Asia, and UK as well.
That's right.
Not at the same time, but I know you did the UK a bunch as well.
You're East Coast, right? New
I
York.
am. Yeah, I'm from New York originally, from Brooklyn, and but I've
Because
been
you don't
out here.
sound like it at all.
Right. Every now and then, someone will say you don't sound like you're from New York, and I'm just like, do you have ears? Like, what's?
Right.
But like, when I'm in a Starbucks, they love hearing me say water and all that jazz.
Can I get some water?
I can kind of cut it off a little, not much, but a little.
You have the
yeah,
off.
yeah, off,
walk,
thought,
off.
like all of that. Yeah.
How do you get your start in stand up?
For me, it's kind of a twofold thing. One, I've always enjoyed making people.
Just dropped, just so you know.
Oh yeah. I've always enjoyed making people laugh, And then when I was in college, a buddy of mine, who actually moved out here too, and we ran into each other again, and he was like running a studio, not like from a development standpoint, but operations.
Yeah.
Like if you needed a forklift or you know what I mean. But he one summer we came back, from whatever we did, and he told me he started doing stand up, and I was just like, what? You know what I mean? Because I didn't even know he was funny. He is funny, but
You're like,
so
if he can do it, I can.
right. Well, you know, when you're funny, you just don't even know. You just don't know, right? You just
Right.
like, I'm funny, but you don't make the connection. And so him saying that made the connection for me. And then the next summer, so I kind of sat on this information for the whole school year. Next summer, I had a job opportunity in Seattle for a summer job, and I was like, if I don't get that, I'm gonna start stand up. So I didn't get that job.
What was the job?
It was like testing software at Microsoft.
And they dissed you?
Yeah, but I mean, they flew me out there. You know,
Okay.
I was like in the last final rounds. You know what I mean?
Okay. What was the? What do you think the? Why they cut you off? What do you think the?
Good question. I feel like I answered one question wrong, a technical question, and because I know I aced all the other stuff, and then when I got home, I realized, oh, I answered that question wrong.
Right.
And my mom told me, and she's not like super disciplinarian or anything, but she was like, you should send a thank you letter. And I was like, you're right, I should. And I just didn't do it right away. So I think maybe I wouldn't have, been hired anyway. But I think if I had sent the thank you letter, I realized I answered that one question wrong, boop-de-boop. But it worked out well.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
Black
But
man in America.
right. No. Listen, that wasn't the first time I flew, but I was in a limo. I
Okay.
went to the Microsoft headquarters.
Right. How many people were up for this job?
I mean,
Hundreds?
at that point though, at the point of being
In the
flown
finals, yeah.
there, probably
10,
probably 20
20.
people for 5 slots. Something,
Right.
like you got a shot, and I'm probably going up against people that are way better students than I am. Like I just
Where do you go to school?
New York Institute of Technology. So I'm going up against,
Oh yeah.
that's not like MIT. It's just, it's a decent school. It's a private school. And I just finessed it at the job fair. I went to a job fair and I just was like talking about my love. And I was like, I had a Commodore 64 and this. And I think I just won over the lady. And so that brought me out there. And I think I would have done a crazy, a bang up job. But I've flirted with that my whole career until I jumped off and just was comedy. There's been a constant flotation between those two paths. Because then when I graduated, and I'll get back to how I started, because when I graduated college, I had a job offer in Boston and then another interview in Arizona. And the interview was for Intel. And it was it was like this, they had this program where you bounce around and it's a rotational program. I did a rotational program as well in Boston. But the Intel thing was it was again, we're hiring 12 people, we're flying 24 out. And I was like, I just didn't go. I just canceled the interview.
Why?
Because I didn't want to get it and then I'd be stuck with this other dilemma, right? Because I knew that, all I knew was that I was moving to Boston because I had that job interview, and I knew all these comics were from Boston. That I knew Conan was from Boston, Jay Leno.
Right.
I was like, oh, they got a scene there. I'm gonna be good. I didn't know Arizona. I was like, does Phoenix have a scene? Now, had I known that Gary Shandling was from Arizona, David Spade, I may have.
It's got a little scene there.
Yeah, I may have went that way, but I was like, in retrospect, Boston was the way to go. Boston is a
for
great
sure.
comedy scene. So then that was another flotation. And then I kept going these two paths. Then I was in grad school at USC, trying to get an MBA. And I got a job offer from HP in the Bay to do not to program, but to manage programmers. And then I just left grad school. And
You took the job.
No, I left grad school and I took another job just to hold me over, and then I started doing comedy full time.
What happened to the HP thing? You didn't even go to the interview?
Yeah, no. I had
Bro,
the job.
you're really cocky.
I had the job.
He loves.
He's like,
interviewing.
I'm blowing off fucking meetings with these big ass fucking.
I'm a professional interviewer.
What is wrong with you?
No, I had the job. I declined. I said thank you. But
Right.
I didn't do it like a
No,
jackass.
I'm fucking with you.
Yeah.
I just think because that's not my world at all. Like,
Right,
I'm very, I have zero tech savvy. At
But it's
all.
not my world now. But
Right.
that was 20 years ago.
So where do you? So it's obviously changed, right? So much.
Yeah.
Can you keep up with it as much as
A
you
little bit.
Can you
bit.
program?
A little. But I think now what I used to call programming and what's programming now is almost two different things.
Yeah.
Because I think programming back then was actually harder. Now it's just sort of everything's already been written and you're just putting it all together.
Right.
You're just piecing
Piecing the puzzle together.
the puzzles together. And so back to how I started. So now I have this thing. I'm not going to Seattle. I have a little summer job in New York, and I'm just putzing around. And with the idea, I'm gonna start stand up. I'm writing my jokes. I have this Stevie Wonder parody that I wrote. I have a Michael Jackson parody. They're ready to go. Right. My Stevie Wonder parody was like, what if Jungle Fever, the song Jungle Fever, what if it was really about Roseanne Barr? And I wrote a song called Junk Food Fever. So I put on the glasses and I sang Junk Food. So I had that ready to go.
And Stevie's cadence.
Yeah, I had that all ready to go.
Do you have that on tape? somewhere, or on
Maybe,
video? I'd love to see
maybe,
that.
and I remember most of it too. And then then I had my MJ parody. Do you remember the time when I was black? And then I started comedy. I caught a flack because this other comic had his Do you remember the time when I was black thing?
Right.
Shout out to Gerald Kelly. So I stopped doing it. He did a better MJ than I did. And then Flex also did Michael Jackson. So I just stopped doing Michael Jackson. So anyway, so I got these jokes ready, some other little jokes I put together. And I went to this Black Business Expo. That's a showcase of black businesses. So like consumers can so black people can support black businesses, that kind of thing. And it's in New York City. And it travels everywhere, but it happened to be in New York City at the Jacob Javits Convention Center. And I saw the Uptown Comedy Club in Harlem. And they were there to like sell tickets and things like that. But I walked up and I was like, hey, how do you become a comic? And they were like, oh, just come on Wednesday. We do a little workshop. Then you can try out on Sunday. Sunday
How old are you at this point?
Like 21, 22, something like that. And then we have this like Sunday you come in, it's called the New Jack segment. Middle of the show. The show is bananas. And right in the middle, they put on 4 new comics. And then the audience gets to say if you can come back or not. You know what I mean? So yeah, so that like I saw them on a Wednesday or a weekend, so it was like a Friday or Saturday. Went to the workshop Wednesday, went to the Improv just to check it out. Then Sunday I went up
in the 4 comic slot.
Yeah, in Harlem at the Uptown Comedy Club.
And then and they passed you, obviously.
The first time, yeah. You usually do well your first time. You're running off adrenaline, and then I tell people you become a comic. You're a comic. You're not really a comic until you bomb, and then you come back again.
Right.
Because that means. You know what I mean?
You want it that bad.
You want it, yeah. So first week,
it's like trying to date your ex-girlfriend who doesn't like you.
Right. Or any drug, right? You're trying to get back to that first high, yeah. As the people who come back here know.
Right.
So I bombed the first time. Second time, not only did I bomb the
thought you
second
said you
time.
did good the first
No,
time.
I'm sorry. I did good the first time.
Right.
I did really well the first time. I bombed the second time.
Right.
Not only did I bomb the second time, like the host, Montero Ivy, shout out to him, rest in peace to him. He would teach you things. So like, I think looking back, they considered me a comic already.
Yeah.
Because while I was on stage, he started fucking with me in the back of me. He was like making fun of me. Because I did have a wig when I did Michael Jackson. So he was making fun of me. And I was a little felt away about that. But then I think back, I'm like, if he didn't think I could handle it, he wouldn't have done it. You know what I mean?
Right. Do you have any photos of that? We gotta.
Oh,
You got some
man.
sunglasses. Maybe you can
Right,
give us a little
right,
taste
right.
of
I'll
that
give
Stevie
us a
Wonder.
series.
I'll try to
you have
see if I can find some photos. And like the Uptown Comedy Club, what people don't realize is it was owned by a guy named I want to say his last name was Carrington, something like that. Andre, either Carrington. I could be flubbing the last name, but him and his brother was in a classic movie in the '80s called Last Dragon,
Oh, I've seen that.
and his brother was Shonuff.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So these guys opened up a
That was
comedy
Bruce
club.
I don't
Leroy.
remember that.
Yeah.
Was that
Oh.
Bruce Lee?
Oh,
No,
it was Bruce Leroy.
It was a black
The
Bruce
Last
Lee,
Dragon.
basically.
It is such a
Oh,
good.
great.
I didn't see it.
It's such a
Show
good
enough.
bad
Kiss my
movie.
Converse.
Yeah, it's such a good bad movie. In fact, that's the first movie I ever watched on VCR when I first ever had a VCR. So anyway, so yeah, that's my journey. And then I was doing black comedy at the Uptown Comedy Club. Started going downtown to do like the Boston Comedy Club, which is in New York City. And then eventually I moved to Boston, and then just got my
That's where you got your
my
chops.
legs. Yeah, got my chops there.
And then when did you segue to Los Angeles?
While I was in Boston, it's weird. I came to LA to do grad school.
Wait, no, so you're in Boston at the same time, I would imagine, if I'm thinking timeline-wise, like when Bill Burr and Dan Cook.
Absolutely, yeah,
were,
like
Gary Goldman. And
They were a little ahead of me. Goldman is my guy. Me and Goldman are like we're almost
I love
attached
Gary.
at the
Yeah,
hip.
he's awesome.
We're doing all shows together for like a 3 or 4 year span. That's my dude, right?
But Bill Burr and Dan Cook were ahead of you.
A little bit ahead of us, yeah. Like they were already like going to New York, and
Right.
and Dane was already coming out here a little bit. He didn't live here yet. He would come out here and stuff. Patrice, same thing. I used to drive Patrice O'Neal down to New York.
Is he from Boston too?
Yeah, he's from
I didn't
Boston.
know
Yeah,
that.
and
I
so
thought he was a New York guy.
I'm from New York, but I was living in Boston, so I would drive Patrice down, visit my mom, see him perform, and not even try to get on. But this is when I was living in Boston. But I would always go to New York with him, which was a blast. And so yeah, those guys are doing their thing, and then what happens is I moved to LA to go to grad school, USC, like I said. Then I've got
And
this.
what were you?
I was gonna get an MBA, which is a
Business, yeah.
business thing. Yeah. So all of that's happening. Then I'm serving two masters. I was out here like going to my school, doing my tests, doing comedy 4 or 5 nights a week. I can handle it, but it was just. So then I left school, went back to Boston, and then after a year, I got Conan and I got the Montreal Comedy Festival. And then I came back to LA.
From showcasing in Boston or New York or LA?
In Boston.
So
Boston.
they had a showcase and then you got in on.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah, Boston.
And for you young comics out there listening, this is why I wanted you on the podcast.
Right.
Because most of the comics that I know, well, all the comics that I know really, that everybody has this common thread of like this ambition and work ethic to just drive forward, whether you have an agent or you don't.
Right.
You don't have an agent or a manager, do you?
Now I have a manager. Yeah, I have an agent and manager. Back then I didn't.
You didn't
yeah,
back
yeah,
then.
Yes,
See, that was all
yes.
your own hustle.
Right.
That's what Blake's up to right now. He's got his hustle on, man.
But you certainly don't need those things. You didn't need it then. You certainly don't need it now. If you don't,
and managers.
yeah, if you don't have that. I mean, at some point,
I disagree a little bit. I feel like now is you almost need an agent or a manager a little bit more.
Interesting.
That's just from my perspective.
I think I see what you're saying. You're saying because
well, there's just so much competition out there.
Right.
And what I've also noticed is agents and managers these days are really key on representing influencers, TikTok stars,
right.
People that that have grand outreach,
Draw a crowd.
They could be talented or not, they could be good looking or not, but they have something that people get their eyeballs on.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it depends. Having a manager that doesn't work for you the way you think is worse than not having one. So, I think some people just want to have one, but I agree in the sense that too. 20 years ago, comedy clubs were outside of the purview, or if I'm saying that right, of the industry. Meaning, the big time names would come and do clubs, but clubs would book like the comic would call the club and you get booked.
Right.
And then it changed because the big time agents started thinking, well, like just hypothetically, Ray Romano's my client. You want Ray Romano?
You got to take this guy.
You got to give me 3 other weeks
right.
or
take this other. Oh, I see.
Yeah. So like, not only take this other guy, but Ray Romano's going to come and do this whole week, sell out. I have other clients on the come up, so I need another 5 weeks. There's only 52 weeks a year.
Right.
Back then, the clubs, it's like radio too. Radio a DJ used to be able to play any song he wanted. Now
it's all regulated.
They're like, these are the songs you're playing, and Monday night for an hour, go crazy.
Do whatever. Yeah.
Right. And so
after midnight.
Right. Exactly. And so comedy clubs are like that, where it's like 48 of the weeks are done before the year starts.
Yeah, I mean,
and we're all vying for those 4 weeks.
I'm lucky if I get, the improv has been really good to me, and
right.
You're not putting butts in the seats, but you're a great guy to work with, and you're
right,
you think you're funny, you bring good, whatever. We'll give you Wednesday,
right,
in August,
right. Which is great because then you can
which is fine. Then you can start building it up.
That.
Yeah. And my point is I'm in that category of comics right now where it's like.
Right.
I'm not a TikTok star. I'm not an Instagram social media influencer in that sense. But I like the art and craft of stand-up comedy. So it's just really about, how do you garner that audience? How do you build on it? Look at the Sebastians of the world, and even Bill Burr and Dane Cook. We mentioned, and the list goes on and on of these comics. Bert Kreischer and these people are selling out theaters and arenas and shit. It's pretty incredible to see that, because back when I was starting out, 1 or 2 comics was selling out Madison Square Garden. It was Dice, and like, who else did it back then?
I mean,
I'm talking like that
Back then.
that capacity.
yeah, I mean,
Eddie Murphy,
Eddie Murphy could.
Delirious.
Yeah, Eddie
he
Murphy
did. He
could.
did. There were
Yeah.
10,000 people at his Delirious show.
Right.
But that grand capacity that wasn't happening a lot. A few comics were doing it. Now,
Like George Carlin.
George Carlin. Well, he was more of like a theater act. He wasn't doing, Eliza Schlesinger. She's doing,
Well, yeah.
huge theaters and shit. It's like
Well,
Russell Peters.
Right, right. And Russell's a great example because Russell popped right as social media.
The timing was perfect for him.
And same thing with Dane. And I think, that's the thing where you have to you study it, you work hard, but nowadays it comes back to the algorithm. And then how do you manipulate it and how do you find your audience? Because your audience is there. It's just finding them.
What do you love the most about stand-up comedy?
What do I love?
We're going to start asking you really hard questions, Dwayne.
I mean, I would say I love the process of a joke going from, just an inception in your mind to this completed bit. And I think I take it for granted. I think we all might take it for granted.
Yeah.
But I remember some bits I've done on TV or some of my major bits. And when I think about man, I was just in the airport. I had that thought. And it was it became a 5-minute bit or a 4-minute bit.
Yeah.
That's,
So tell people a little bit. So you get Conan.
Yes.
This is when Conan was hot.
In New York.
Yeah, and I saw your set. It's on YouTube if you just type in Dwayne Perkins, Conan O'Brien. But it's really funny because you're a really clever writer, and you know that.
Thank you.
So you get Conan. Did you get some heat around that where people were like, "Oh, we want to represent you"? And back in the day, you did the Tonight Show. You got a TV deal, right?
Yeah, I think what I did, I got Conan and I got Montreal same year. And that did give me representation and brought me out to LA, pitch meetings and all not as many pitch meetings as I would have liked, but pitch meetings and all that kind of jazz.
But representation, because you reached out to somebody and said, "Hey, I just did Conan. I want to take a meeting with you," or
no,
somebody found you
they
and
found
said,
me
"We heard about this guy."
They found me.
Awesome.
Yeah. They found me.
Those are the best calls to get.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's the thing about LA. It's okay to come here, but typically you should come if you're invited. You wouldn't go to someone's house if you weren't invited.
Man, you couldn't have put that in better words. That's so true. That is so fucking true, man.
And you know why? Because unless you're just a master I had to get so good at my work ethic, which could still be better, but you don't get better at stand-up here. Some people do. You're from here.
I agree.
You started here.
It depends how you approach it.
Yes.
I got good at it here because I was also running my own rooms. So
Right.
I was creating my own
You
stage
had to
time, and I was
kinda
also
hustle.
wearing and
you
I was
have
wearing a
to-
producer hat. But you're right. LA has a laziness, or actually it used to. I think there's more right now. There's a lot of mics
Right.
and rooftop comedy and outdoor this, and I was producing some shows during the pandemic.
Right.
LA is a very saturated market right now, actually, for comedy. But when I was starting out with the 3 clubs, maybe you go to the Ice House. It was, it's a little scattered. New York. You can hear the drums. It's all good.
I wasn't sure if I was
I don't know if you guys heard that noise. That was a
yeah.
That was we're at Jam in the Van Studios. They have live music.
And that's the
going on.
thing. If you're in LA, if you're from here, know the lay of the land, and okay, I'm gonna go to the Valley, find some rooms that no one knows about, or OC, go out to the Inland Empire, places that are a little bit on the outskirts, so you can get good without people seeing you.
Right.
But if you're a comic coming from somewhere else, it's the worst. Actually, I'll take that back. It's if you start here, you have a shot. If you start somewhere else and you come here not invited, it might be a shock, right?
So they say you go to New York to build an act, you come to LA to sell it. Right?
Yeah, right. And so if you come here prematurely, what will happen is
That's all what people will see you as.
right. Whatever
And you kind of
Well, you
Yeah.
probably get overwhelmed by the amount of comics waiting for stage time.
well,
and
it's
trying to
kind of
get-
like, and that's the thing. I came here because my manager at the time and my agent wanted me to come here. I was gonna go to New York, and my Conan appearance on New York was gonna just open up every door. He's a comic now. He's been on Conan, and then you come here and it's like no one cares.
Nobody
'cause
cared.
Damon Wayans just popped in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What happened with then you get JFL. JFL, if you don't know what JFL is, it's the Just for Laughs festival, comedy festival in Montreal, Canada. It's the biggest. It's the world's biggest comedy festival.
Right,
it's the best one out there.
It's a great festival.
How'd you get that?
Yeah, they saw
And were you like a new face?
Yeah, it was New Face
Face,
with
yeah.
Gary Goldman actually.
Oh, okay.
With Gary Goldman, Gabriel Iglesias, Daniel Tosh.
Wow.
Some good company.
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Vinny Favorito, Chuck Roy, a few more that I'm forgetting. Some great comics though that have all done great things.
Not if you forgot them.
No. Well,
joking.
maybe I didn't forget them. Maybe I just forgot that they were there with me.
I'm joking.
Because I went to Montreal like 2 years ago, and I was hanging with some friends. They were laughing at me because I kept running into people, and I would be like, "Oh, I did New Faces with this guy. I did New Faces," and they were like, "Did you do New Faces with everybody?" You know, it was just kind of a weird thing. So yeah, that got me a lot of meetings and everything. But I will say that it put me on a different trajectory. I have no regrets at all, but I do think that my mind and my way of looking at things, I was poised to just take stand up to this next level, you know. And because, you know, you're young, you're funny, you're a good writer, or whatever have you, it's sort of like you start taking on others' ambitions. Not to say I didn't have any ambitions to be on TV and things like that, but it wasn't immediate. Like my singular focus was just to keep getting better as a comic.
And you
then
did.
it
You got on
became-
Netflix, right? You
Right,
dropped
right.
a special.
But it took longer because I had to my ambition started to be get on TV, and or like as an actor, as a writer, sell TV shows, and I'm with that, all of that stuff too. But I just think like my first few years in LA, I didn't manage that quite right, and I realized like comedically there was some guys that I knew from like New York and Boston, who like kind of caught up to me. Not caught up to me in terms of like, you know, comedy's completely subjective, but caught up to me in the sense of that they were getting acknowledged as
Success,
great
right.
comics. Yeah. Just from comedy. And they deserved it. And I just think
What would you have done better
I just would have
or done differently? Sorry.
done differently. Just focus on the comedy more. And then I would have been like, and I could have still done this, but I would have been right on the forefront of like email lists and building your audience and all that stuff that I kind of knew, but you know, it's sort of like I'm here on my journey. I'm writing jokes. I'm trying to get better. In LA, where I'm only doing 10-minute spots, so I'm not even doing my 45-minute spots. So I really have to like every bit of stage time you get, you have to use and make sure you use it right. And then in addition to that, auditions and do this character and do this and write this and write that. Yeah, I think I just would have been like hit the comedy really hard,
Right.
and build up my email list. You know, it's the perfect analogy is rap music. You know,
Right.
because what happened is East Coast rappers and West Coast rappers, there was a path to record deal. So basically, you just got really good, and then you got in front of the right agent, the right record exec, you got a record deal. What down south, there was no path. You had to move to New York or move to LA.
Right.
Eventually, Atlanta became that. So what the down south rappers did was, they got good. They got their songs together. They sold records out of their trunks.
Yep.
They basically,
Like MC Hammer.
yeah, they just basically did it
Didn't
that
MC
way.
Hammer do that?
Yeah, he did, and sometimes that's better, because then like the gatekeepers,
Can't control
they
your.
can't control it. Because what happens is the gatekeepers kind of like they fix the game a little bit sometimes, and
A
the
lot
people,
of the times.
and the people they choose are good. They don't
Yeah.
choose whack
No,
people.
but they definitely push.
Yeah.
The comedy industry definitely pushes towards like certain people. Like when they want to make you a
Absolutely,
star,
absolutely,
they will make you
absolutely.
a fucking star.
And so if you're caught up in that system, and then they decide that you're not a star, you're like, oh, what am? But if from the beginning your brain goes, they're not fucking with me, then you act accordingly.
Just make
When
your
I was
own-
on
make your
tour
own
with
way.
when I was on tour with Russell Peters back in 2008, Russell Peters took me and Joe Coy
Oh, nice. Yeah,
on
yeah.
a 3-week tour around Australia. First class, 5-star hotel. He bought everybody tag watches. Russell Peters is one of the most generous,
He's a great guy.
not only
absolutely.
comics, just people.
Yeah,
he's just such a
absolutely.
great guy. And And we had fun. That's when he was like right on his rise.
Right.
So he was selling like 4,000 seat theaters, and we
Right.
were opening for him. And Joe Coy would get a standing ovation every night because he would end it with his. He always has like a karaoke, like a Michael Jackson song that he sings,
right.
going back to Michael Jackson. Yo, if you can sing Michael Jackson in a comedy show, you're gonna
Yes.
fucking get.
I once sang a song like Joe Coy once sang a song at like this Vietnamese restaurant at midnight. It was packed with people, and everyone sang along with him. It was bizarre. But anyway, go ahead.
No, that's it. Well, that's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
he did in front of 3,000 people in fucking Sydney, Australia. You know, and I can't remember what the song it was, but he ended it. Thank you very much, and people fucking stood up. So I've
Right,
never seen
right.
anything like that. And I was like, this guy's onto something. And then Russell and I would do meet and greets. But Joe Coy would go grab a stack of like at least 300 like 3x5 cards with his face, his name, his contact info, email,
Right, right.
and stand outside and hand out these fucking things to people. And that's how that's a part of his.
So he could
what
come
you're-
back to Australia without Russell the next time or whatever.
Well,
Yeah,
and he has so far.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, many times. I mean, you know how he's selling out fucking, arenas too. So
Well, and that's the thing. I think the thing is sort of like it's better if you know if the machine or in anything in life, it's better to know if people are really with you or if they're not with you. But if you don't know, then you are going half speed, and then you know what I mean. Because like Russell is a great example. Russell's done such great things in comedy because super funny, from Canada, Indian, represents people that kind of no one was really
he's
checking
really good at accents.
Really good at accents.
Like he's a good actor.
Crowd work central.
Crowd work
Yeah,
is great. Right.
And which is all super dope for people also who are like not used to stand up. You know what I mean? Like if you've never seen stand up before, you want to see Russell.
Oh yeah.
You don't want to see Seinfeld because you're like,
No.
what is this guy talking about?
Right,
Socks? What's, I don't even know what's happening right
What's
now.
the deal with socks?
Right? So Russell struck. It's such a perfect thing. And what I love about it is that I could be wrong, but just looking at the industry, like if you go back to 2007, right, and then like or whenever before Russell popped, and whatever Indian comics were doing comedy, even if they were new, just anyone you could find, the industry wouldn't have chose Russell. They have to deal with him because he's undeniable.
Yeah, that's
He is.
that's undeniable.
That's Barry Katz used to say that. You got to be undeniable in this industry.
Right, and there's a few ways to do
Not
that.
only with like garnering your audience and crowd, but on stage, like always be funny.
Absolutely, and not in that Harvey Weinstein way. Let's just be clear.
What do you hate? What do you hate most about stand-up comedy?
What do I hate most?
About the business, not the craft.
Okay, the business.
Like what bugs you? Because I got a laundry fucking list.
I know where this is going.
I try not to be like get off my lawn like the old guy screaming. I think what I don't like, and I don't even know if I'm hitting it exactly, but I think it speaks to it. I don't like that people who are new in comedy will try to discredit it while simultaneously
think they're owed or
using
deserved
it to help their careers.
Yeah.
So, like you said, rooftop shows. I love rooftop shows, right? But now you're seeing all these shows that are like experimental, and I think it's all good, but it's to the point now where, like in LA, for instance, if you're doing comedy on a Friday night at the Improv, right? It's almost implied that you're a hack, because you're not in the back of a record shop or in someone's backyard, and it's not like some weird show where you have to dress like, your favorite forefather. Like it's just like, like
I know what show you're talking about.
no, I like, and I do that show. I'm not even.
You fucking did it.
I like that show. All I'm saying is that I just don't like that it implies that regular stand-up is
dead.
no longer good.
Right,
Yeah,
I feel you.
And it still is very much good, very much like we're talking about this art form that has been done in New York City and still being done. And I don't mind that I understand it has to evolve, but some of that evolution is because some people don't want to get good. They don't want to, because it's not an easy road. Like
Right.
you have to enjoy it.
You're saying like self-sabotage.
Well,
They don't want to get good because they're afraid of success, or they're afraid
No,
of
no.
time that's going to take.
the time, right?
Right.
So instead of just being like, I'm gonna work and do all these clubs and get good in front of all types of audiences, is an arduous task. They go, I'm gonna discredit all of that. It's kind of like when Dame hit, right? Dame was a force, and we were there, right? So
Yeah.
we know he was
Yeah,
a
I was
force.
right there
No
in
matter what
the line.
if you like him personally or not, Dame was a force. He was a rock star. He would go to Dublin's. He was a rock star, and as soon as he really hit hard, all these, and I like these guys too. They're funny, but all these alt comics, it felt like an all out attack on Dane.
Oh, for sure.
right?
He was the most attacked comic
Right.
of all time, I think.
And it was because
him and Mencia. Are
yeah,
like up
him and
there.
Mencia, and Mencia, I get a little bit because of joke theft, but Mencia is hilarious too, right?
Yeah.
But Dane, I don't think he deserved it to that extent. And maybe some of it was like personal stuff that was like not comedy related. But I do think that a lot of it is I can't do what this guy does.
Well, maybe it's back to the hip hop analogy where like people are like, "Oh, you went mainstream, you're a sellout or whatever." So they
little
want to
bit of
keep
that.
it underground, keep it little
Right,
clubs,
right,
and then they
right.
see you doing these big arenas.
Dan
and then,
Cook was doing something no other comic was doing, not only on stage back in that time, like in the late '90s, early 2000s,
right.
but that he was right on the brink of monopolizing MySpace.
Absolutely.
And that's how he sold a
Absolutely.
million records and all that
Absolutely.
stuff. And
But-
he was smart in that sense, and he was ahead of his time with technology
Oh, yeah.
and IT and that kind of shit.
But also material wise, I've opened for Dane a bunch. Like I was on tour with Dane, and you like afterward he would do a meet and greet, right? And you would see the people. It would be like we were like probably
like
in
Jesus
our 20s.
walked into the room.
Yeah, it's like because you think people try to say Dane's comedy was bro comedy, and it's not true. Like Dane is like he's actually a nerd who became a bro,
Yeah.
but is still a nerd. And so at these shows, you'd see goth chicks, you'd see frat girls,
Yeah, he's
frat
definitely-
dudes, bros,
Dane
old
definitely-
women, young. Everybody was there.
Bro, he's posting stuff on Instagram playing like Call of Duty or whatever. It's like
Right,
he's
right.
definitely. I know he has a nerd side to him. I like Dan. He's always been
Right.
when he was doing Dublins with us and stuff. He was just one of those, like you said, force of nature. And then he blew up. And then he had a lot of these people hating on him. But
Right. But they hated on him specifically because they weren't willing to get as good as him.
Yeah.
So it's almost like when you go to a restaurant and like they bring out a big plate and there's like a one fried bug and a leaf and bubbles and you're like, what the hell is this? And they're like, oh, this is great. And if you don't like it, there's something wrong with you.
Right.
It's the emperor's clothes. You know what I mean?
Right.
But there's a reason why people like burgers. They're undeniable.
So let me ask you this. We're
Yes.
going to wrap it up soon. I'm going to ask you your best Hollywood tale.
Oh, right.
In a minute.
Yes.
But if in a couple minutes, if you can tell that story about why you don't fight anymore. You told me one of the fun. So Dwayne and I have traveled to the Middle East together. We've traveled when I was living in Malaysia. You came.
Absolutely. Yes.
He's very well known in Asia.
Great host too. I stayed with Maddie. Showed me a great time.
Malaysia was fun. We were hanging out a lot, but you were telling me this great story about. We were talking about fighting, and you said, "I don't fight anymore because I had to beat up this bully on campus." Was it with the metal tray? Was that you? That told
Oh
me?
yeah, okay. I know what you mean now. I know what you mean now. No,
I'm
no,
like, I don't think it was-
no. I was much younger. But
But you said that was the last kind of fight you got in.
yeah, it was in 5th grade.
It's a funny story.
These twins used to always pick on me. They were twins. Yeah,
Twin bullies?
and I don't know if it matters, but they were Puerto Rican twins, right? So they were. I won't say their names, but they're good dudes, and so. But back then, like it was like every year they're picking on me. They try to anything I had, they would try to steal. They try to steal my ski hat, and so we had some run-ins.
Were they bigger than you?
Maybe a little. They were 1 year older, and so they were 1 year older. But then they had a brother who was 1 year younger. So I was sandwiched in by these guys, right? And I was a free lunch kind of dude. But that day we went on a trip to like a zoo or something. I don't know. And I missed so many trips. People don't know this. I would always miss the trips because I would get in trouble. And then they'd be like, "You can't go on a trip." I'm like, "All right." This trip I did go on. So the reason why that's important is we got back early enough to be in a cafeteria, and I had a can of Country Time lemonade, full can.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting there, and I don't know why this guy started messing with me, and it was so stupid. It was such a fifth grade kind of thing. And he got in my face, and he was like, "You're a punk, this, that, and the third." And I was like, "Whatever, man." And I still was like, I had my comedic spirit, so I was like, "Whatever, man." He was like, "Yeah, you won't do shit. I bet you won't touch me. I bet you won't touch me." And I just,
He started flinching on
I
you.
just touched him like that. Like I just literally just touched him with my my finger, and then he punched the shit out of me in my arm. He's like, "You won't touch me again." And I just touched him like just like that, and he punched me again. So like I'm being funny, but I'm getting mad. He's punching me really hard, right?
Yeah.
So that happens like 2 or 3 times, and I'm just so mad, but I'm like winning in a sense, I guess. Can
Yeah,
that be
'cause you're
winning?
you're agitating them
Yeah, I'm
now.
agitating him, but he's punching the fuck out of me, and I'm just touching him. I'm literally just like E.T. and Elliot. I'm just barely tapping him with my pinky, and he keeps punching me. And at this point, like I just can't keep this joke going anymore. So he walks away, and I go, "Yo," and I just throw my full can of Country Time lemonade right in his face.
Fuck yeah.
The can hits him directly in the face, and then his twin saw it, and his twin grabbed a metal tray and chased me all around the cafeteria, and I was running, and then somehow, usually the rumor mill doesn't work well for you, but somehow, like the next day I came to school, and it was like Dwayne beat up the twins.
Yeah.
I don't even know how that, like me hitting him in the face with a can of Country Time lemonade. I'm telling you, a full can of Country Time lemonade when you were like in 5th, 6th grade, that's your whole face. Like
Oh,
that's yeah. It messes up your next year. So that was a turning point of my whole life, though, in a sense, because I hit him in the face. He chased me around with a metal tray, and then later that day or next day, there was this intervention, you know, for me, because I got into a lot of trouble. I didn't start trouble, but I had a temper, and I was in the principal's office. I'm sitting there with my mom, my grandma, my teacher, the principal, and my 1st grade teacher, who was still kind of just watched over me, wanted to make sure, Mrs. Ballard, and they were all just like standing over me and just looking down at me, like, "What are you gonna do? You know, we know you can do better."
That's like an episode of Everybody Loves Chris.
Right, yeah, exactly.
You know, and then you become like a man on the inside.
Exactly, and that helped and hurt me because basically I was like, okay, I can't lose my temper anymore, and so I learned how to not lose my. I didn't learn how to be mad. I learned how to not get mad. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So
yeah.
basically,
how you react to something.
less things made me mad.
Mm-hmm.
So I just like if someone did something to me, I would like try to understand them. They did it for this reason. They did it for that reason, and so I feel people think, "Oh, that guy never gets mad." But when I do get mad, I still get just as mad as I did. So I had to work on how do you get mad. But I would be, yeah, right now.
Country Time.
So yeah, I had to. That was a crazy little moment for me. That you know, because when to do something like that, that's outrageous. You know.
Yeah. Well,
Like-
you're in the 5th grade. You're probably going, through puberty. You don't know any better.
Yeah.
Plus, the guy kept on. I probably would have done that.
Yeah,
I
and-
think I am.
Yeah, you might have done that. Yeah, because I know how you are. Like I get mad like you get mad.
Yeah.
I've seen you be mad, but except I get mad less times.
Yeah.
But we have a very similar
Yeah.
anger reaction to
Yeah.
things, and then that's something like they got into trouble a lot too. So they said to me next day, they said, "We're gonna get you this summer."
Damn.
They
And
threatened
the
you?
whole year, like I just was like, the school it went by so fast. I was like, "Fuck, the summer's here," and we all lived in the same neighborhood, so I was just like, I was just fucking looking over my shoulder the whole summer, and they never messed with me again. And they were not soft, like they went on to be, they were like gangsters. They held it down. They might have
If you
sold
hit him in the
drugs.
fucking head
They
with
ju-
a
they
country
just-
You earn
lemonade.
their respect, man.
Yeah, they just never messed with me again. Thank God.
By the way, this is liquid death. It's not alcohol.
Right.
It's not beer. It's actual mountain water, and it's really good, actually.
From the Alps.
Yeah, it's really good
I
water.
guess they-
It's
yeah,
such
they-
an odd name.
One of the sponsors here, I guess, at Jam in the Van, Liquid Death Mountain Water. Check it out. Yo,
It's
we're
really
going to
good.
wrap it up in
Yes.
a minute. I just want to ask you what's next for you, what's coming up, and then tell us your best Hollywood tale.
Okay, what's next? Check my calendar. I'm doing the Gilda Radner. It's a Laugh Fest. It's a festival in honor of Gilda Radner. I'm doing that second week of March like 16th through the 19th, Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Oh, wow, okay.
So if you know anyone out there,
Yeah.
I'm doing Laughs, Seattle in I think maybe later this month in April. So all of that stuff,
What's your Instagram?
Dwayne Perkins Instagram,
And spelled
DWAYNE. Yes.
yeah,
So
not the other Dwayne.
yeah, I do little videos, and I try to stay somewhat active.
Yeah, you've always been super prolific in your career as
Yeah,
a
yeah,
writer,
yeah.
as an actor, as a producer.
Yeah, and I'm like working on,
Comedian.
working on some projects that I wrote, and I just shot a project recently that gonna try to go out and sell. It's kind of related to music, but we're really happy with it. I can't really talk about it too much, but it's a really good project.
Did you sign an NDA?
Right, exactly. Yeah, I did it with my cousin, and he doesn't know much about the business, but he knew that. He was like, "Yo, make sure they sign an NDA."
Okay.
I was like, "How do you know that?"
Keep it in the family.
And my Hollywood story, we're talking about Dane actually. It's kind of like when I came back to LA, it was like within a week, there was a big De La Hoya fight, and everyone wanted to see it. And I was hanging out with Dane and Dan Smith, if you remember.
Yeah, I remember Dan.
Was my roommate. Shout out to Dan. And
He was a Boston comic too.
Boston comic, exactly. So we're at Dane's house. Dane used to live like really close to the Laugh Factory. He had that great apartment. You ever been to that apartment?
Yeah, the one,
yeah.
the one on like Sunset and like I know what you're talking.
Yeah, like Crescent Heights and stuff.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like Belushi used to live there, maybe. I don't know. Someone famous used to live there. So we're at Dane's place, and we're trying to order the fight on pay-per-view. We can't. Like, too many people are trying to order it. So then Dane has a publicist at the time. Like no one had a publicist, you know what I mean? And so Dane's publicist comes over, and he's like, "You guys, are you watching the fight?" We're like, "We can't get it." And he's like, "Mickey Rourke has it. We can go to watch it with Mickey." And we're like, "What?" And so
Hold on, is Dane famous at this point?
Dane is not famous, no. I mean, he's
At
like
this
college
point.
famous. He's probably done a bunch of colleges. He's not like a household name, no.
In the like Hollywood scene.
Right. He's famous in Hollywood. He's
So like,
he's
is this when he sold 1 million?
before that, way before
Okay,
that.
okay.
Yeah.
So like Dublin's.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
early
yeah,
Dublin.
Dublin's,
Okay.
Dublin's days, maybe
So
even
we're
before
talking like
Dublin's.
1999.
Yeah, 2000,
2000.
2001.
Yeah.
So Dane is not like big, but he's got money because he's had a
Sure.
few television deals, and he's really big in the college market, but he's not famous. So yeah, his publicist is like, "Oh, we can go watch it at Mickey's house." We're like, "Okay," and it's a walk. It's not even a drive. Like we just it's like a block away, and we go to Mickey Rourke's. He's got this apartment. It's on Sun. It's like literally. I could show. I don't want to. I don't know if he still lives there, so I don't know if. So we go to his apartment, and it's just him, and so we just sit with him. They have the same publicist, Dane, Dan, me, and we just watch the De La Hoya fight, and it's so crazy. And Mickey Rourke is really into boxing, so the whole time he's talking, and his place looks cool. So it's like it was fine, And comics gonna be comics. And so Dan Smith said it looked like a Turkish whorehouse. I don't even know what that means. I think because he had like curtains hanging and stuff like that.
Yeah, I
like,
could see he probably lives in a real kind of gothic.
like
dark-
when people have curtains and the curtain doesn't like block a window.
Right.
It's just in the middle of it's like what is this? What is this curtain for? That kind of thing.
right.
It was a nice place. So we watched the fight, and it's kind of interesting. I don't know if he was into hydration or toning, but he did spray his face a few times during the fight.
With like a water mister or
Like
whatever.
yeah, like some kind of misty.
I saw a girl doing
Was
that
it-
the other day. I
was
said,
it-
"What is that?"
I
She
used
said
to do
it's
that.
setting spray.
I used to do that.
Yeah.
It's to set, balance your pH.
So
or
it might have
whatever.
been that.
Was he nice to you?
He was super dope, and I don't know if he was spraying
Did
his
he-
face for that or if he was like into the fight, like
Was
come
he-
on, Rock, like.
Did he did he offer you like drinks or snacks or anything? Or you just sat there.
No, I think we had some water, some soda, or beer, or whatever. Not much, because I just think like he didn't know where his light bulbs were, but the publicist did. I shouldn't. I'm spilling tea, I guess, but it's so long ago because there was a light out and we needed a little more light, and he was like, "Where are the light bulbs?" And then the guy went and got the light bulbs.
That's a fucking great Mickey Rourke impression.
So it was kind of cool, but and that happened like, I was here before, but I came back. That was like within the first week I was here,
You
And
got
so
to hang out with Mickey Rourke.
you're just thinking, oh, is this my life? I'm just gonna be
Right.
watching fights with Mickey Rourke, and then like that same week, I went to like some party in the hills at Rick Fox's house. I'm like, what is this? But then it settled down, and I moved to Tarzana, and then
And
you
no
know,
celebrities live in Tarzana.
right. It just became a very regular life. Yeah.
That's a great story. Well, hey, man, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, man.
Blake, any last words, comments?
Good.
You pretty much just did all the talking with us.
I'm sorry. Thank
I'm
you.
joking. Hey, guys, that's our episode of Hollywood Tales with my good friend and brother, Dwayne Perkins. Catch me on Instagram at Ahmed Ahmed Comedy.
At Blake Barty Comedy.
Dwayne Perkins on Instagram. Yes.
And if you're ever in the West LA area, come check out Jam in the Van here on Motor Avenue. Live music, live comedy. We shoot our podcast here every week. Want to thank Dave and Jake, the owners, Jake Trainer, what is Jake's official title? Trainer. Venue manager. Jake Trainer, venue manager. Jack Higgins, our creative director, and the one and only, the awesome Wolf Ramirez over here making this all happen. We'll see you next time. Peace out.
Sweet.
Thanks.